Okay, I'm going to call the meeting of the Township of Frontenac Islands to order. At 4 o'clock, we begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are meeting on the land that has been under the stewardship of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Huron-Wendat for time immemorial. As settlers, we are grateful for the opportunity to meet, live, and play on this land, and we thank all generations of Indigenous peoples from the past to the present who currently continue to extend the sharing of this land with us. We recognize and deeply appreciate their ongoing connection to this place. We also recognize the contribution of the Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous peoples who now make this region their home and who have both shaped and strengthened this community and our province and country as a whole. As settlers, this recognition of the contributions and ongoing importance of Indigenous peoples to the area must also be clearly and overtly connected to our collective commitment to make the promise and the challenge of truth and reconciliation real in our communities and to bring justice for murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls across our country. Now, is there any declaration of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof by any on the council? Seeing none, we'll move to the consent agenda. I'd like to have a mover and a seconder for the adoption and receipt of the minutes. Moved by Councillor Jablonski, seconded by Councillor Baxley. Okay, and that's for the December 4th special budget meeting, January 8th of 2024 public meeting, and January 18th, 2024 special meeting. Now, there was one amendment that I thought should be put into the December 4th meeting. I've discussed it with the clerk. And that is under the Wolf Island Road section, the specificity of the 3 roads that were suggested for the capital projects, being the Joy Road, 6 kilometers of the highways, road number 96, and baseline between 7 and 8. Am I correct on that? There we go. So for specific on the Howe Island Road section, it seemed like we should be specific on the Wolf as well. Aside from that, I didn't see any errors. Anyone else? No? Okay, so that the motion is that the December 4th and 5th, 2023 special budget meeting minutes be adopted as presented / amended, and that the January 8th, 2024 public and council meeting minutes be adopted as presented and amended, and that the January 18th, 2024 special meeting minutes be adopted as presented and amended. All those in favor? Carried. The next item, I need a mover and a seconder for information items. Councillor Holton moved. Councillor Ackley second. Okay. And on the AMO watch files of January 4th, January 10th, January 11th, January 25th, information request from a resident and distressed or deceased birds. And that on the first one, which is January 4th, I want to make mention of the 2 pieces in there that I believe were also repeated in the later AMO meetings or minutes. And that was regarding the Housing Enabling Water System Fund. And that was discussed at Roma, which was originally conceived primarily to be of use to larger urban centers, but they seem to be wavering on that, and I forwarded on an email to the clerk and the CAO regarding that. So we seem to have made some movement on that, which is good. And also the Rural Transit Fund that was mentioned again, and I'm hoping that we might have an application in for that.
Through you, Mayor, we don't at this time. So if council wishes, we can definitely pull it out, and I know that you discussed or your interest is in a bus, correct?
Yeah, 50,000 that we could get a bus that could help with Big Sandy Bay, and when not in use for Big Sandy Bay and other times, it would be owned by us. It can't be for a leased item, it needs to be for a purchased. And it is a one-time shot for rural transit funding, so. Anyways, aside from that, the rest of it is just purely information. Okay, So should we have further discussion on the rural transit piece now, or? should we- budget time?
When does the rural transit?
It's gonna close, I think it's February 21st is the tail end.
So we should really receive direction from council then if they wish us to proceed.
So this would be an appropriate time to have a discussion. Okay. There is an opportunity to apply for a rural transit grant of $50,000. Seems like since we have no rural transit on virtually any of our islands, with the exception of what volunteer drivers have been enticed to do via the county of Frontenac, we have an opportunity to get something in place to assist in moving people from Marysville towards Big Sandy Bay primarily in the summertime, but could also be used at a different time for seniors needing to get to the medical clinic or anything else that is worthwhile. And it will be something that, if you look at it from a purchase perspective, the city of Toronto often, on a routine basis, actually sells off their small transit type buses. Because they just have a system of getting rid of them. So there is opportunity to get something for under that $50,000 that we might be able to make some use of. So I open that up for discussion. Councillor Ackley?
So how many employees would we need for that? To drive the bus?
Usually only one person hangs onto the wheel.
I know, but how long are the shifts? We're gonna have 2 shifts during the day, is it start at 7? Do we make money from Big Sandy Bay? Just some questions for input, because we're gonna put out 50 grand on a bus, and does it have to be handicap accessible?
Would you have you done any work on this?
I'll speak on it a little bit, through you, Mayor. You're right, you know, a lot needs to be determined on what the actual use is for this bus. Definitely would need to be accessible. I don't know if you can get volunteers to do 2 shifts, but I think you would need a couple shifts. Some more, maintenance, so you're buying a used bus, so I'd need to really consider the maintenance of it and insurance. So we'd have to reach out to our insurance company and just see what kind of insurance. Like, I do like the idea, however, there's a number of things that we need to consider when doing it. So again, I don't know if you could get a volunteer to do some shifts, operating the bus. But there's a few things that need to be considered, but I can definitely pull out the application and with Vanessa and I, we can go through it, so.
Okay, I believe part of the discussion that we had earlier on this was also that you could have, the debit type.
Yep.
Pricing of one fee that gets you on the bus and pays your way into Big Sandy Bay, so that it's less cash being handled at Big Sandy Bay, because currently Big Sandy Bay is not capable of looking after a Moneris type thing. Everything has to be handled in cash. So if they're catching the bus at, say, the town hall, and they had to get on the bus with a paid ticket, then they'd have their pay for the bus transit, as well as getting into Big Sandy Bay, and it would help to decrease the number of cars that need to go out to Big Sandy Bay, and might even decrease the number of cyclists that come over trying to get out to Big Sandy Bay. It would also help for getting people to leave Big Sandy Bay when it's closing, because the bus would be leaving. So getting people to leave Big Sandy is always a challenge at the best. But more discussion, Councillor Saunders?
I'm not sure what the scope of when I think rural transit, this sounds more like a tourism opportunity, on the tourism file or whatever. I'm not sure what they consider rural transit. I assume that would normally be getting people from their homes to shops or to work or whatever. That's how what I think in terms of transit. So I'm not sure I'm not sure what you're proposing there would apply or fit within the criteria. And I'm also concerned about the operational. This is, we got a bus that's gonna sit there now. We don't know what the cost is, what the implications are. I just don't think we're prepared to go down that.
Okay, Councillor Holton?
I would kind of agree. I don't think, I understand the grants there right now, but I don't think we're ready for it. They tried a bus years past to Big Sandy Bay and wasn't well received. Just because of logistics, you have to unload your car in Kingston, find parking, get your kids and wagon and cooler down, cross the ferry. Onto a bus, off a bus, back onto a bus. So it wasn't well received and I'm afraid of the operating costs. And trying to get drivers.
Councilor Kiwanis?
Yeah, I've got to echo what Dan said. Talked to township a while ago with police about this. Get an idea if this makes sense, but it was running before. And why we stopped. If it was actually working, why did we stop it? So I'd like to know, I mean, I love the idea. More of that we can get the island for people who want to come in, fantastic. But I also don't want to put too much money into something that we only use once in a while. But I wouldn't mind finding out what stopped from working before. Why did we cancel it?
Okay, I may have a bit of that past knowledge. There wasn't a fee charged for the bus and the school bus was used, so it wasn't wheelchair accessible and there wasn't a fee charged for it. So they ran it without money coming in. This concept would be that there's actually a fee charge for getting on the bus and it would also cover off then your access into the Big Sandy Bay and cut down the amount of money being handled by the young people that are hired in. So there's a degree of safety as well for that. But what I'm hearing, it sounds like council is not enthusiastic in even pursuing this grant to see the opportunity. Councilor Kiwanis?
Would it be difficult to throw a business plan together? Just do the research, see why it failed. If Madam Mayor is correct, that'd be great. We'll know that it didn't work because of this, this, and this, but just put a business plan together, get some idea of the cost. I know it's an awful lot to ask before you put it in, but we should know where we stand on this before we actually commit ourselves and money to it. So just think out loud, business plan be great. And just double check why this didn't work.
Okay, and since this was raised at the previous council meeting and nothing had been done, our window of timeline is closing for February 21st. So if the business plan seems to make sense to the CAO, would it be prudent that we give direction to the CAO to submit the application to see if we do have the opportunity to get the funds? Without having to come back to council and leave it to the judgment of the CAO at this point in time? Councilor Saunders?
And this feels like kind of a shotgun approach without some enough thought, and I'm quite concerned about the staff. Time, resource commitment as we go through this transition, so I would not be in favor of moving forward with it. I hate to set that down, maybe call.
Okay. Would you like me to call the vote on this or is there more discussion needed? Okay, all those in favor of the motion would be to have the CAO create a business plan in regards to the rural transit grant. And if it seems a reasonable business plan, to submit it within the time frame of the cutoff date, which is February 21st, without returning to council. Have you got that motion? Okay.
A little bit slower. Council direct CAO to prepare a business plan.
Prepare a business plan regarding the rural transit grant with support towards Big Sandy Bay Transit and additional transit for islanders. And if in his judgment, the plan may be reasonable, to then submit an application for the rural transit grant on or before the deadline, which I believe is February 21st, the deadline. Okay, Do I have a mover for that? Counselor Jablonski moves it, seconded. Counselor Halton. Okay. Any further discussion on it? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion fails. Okay. All right. Okay, we haven't even done, now we need to do this. That the information items be received and filed for information. All those in favor? Carried. Staff reports. Yeah, we have the administration report, number 80-02-24. 2024 council meeting schedule. And I'll have, CAO, or you want to speak to it, is it clerk? Clerk, it's, okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So if council recalls, I presented a report back in December with respect to potential time changes to the council meeting time, as well as moving some of the meetings around. So this is a follow-up with respect to my original report. I prepared a Survey Monkey, which was posted on our website. Attached to my report is the results. Quite favorable with respect to changing the evening meetings to the daytime meetings. So the report is before council. If anyone has any questions, I'd be pleased to answer them.
Hey, Councilor Saunders?
Hey, Mayor, for the public's interest, can you remind us why, I understand staff, scheduling was part of the reason, could you perhaps explain that further?
So, prior to my presentation in December, the CAO Gilmore and myself attended a human resources, training through Cunningham Swan, which is our solicitors. And it was brought to our attention that under legislation regulation, all staff have to have a minimum of 8 hours between, well, I apologize, I don't, the exact numbers escape me, and I'm pretty sure I didn't include this one, but anyways, when, we have an evening meeting, we weren't getting the required time off because it doesn't go in a calendar day, it goes in a 24-hour period, so we weren't getting the required time off was, part of it. And then with respect to changing, having meetings over here, in April and May was, to help with, Councillor Ackley and his, business that he operates. It's much easier for him to come up here. It's, you know, a 10-minute drive as opposed to a 2-hour-long kind of, ferry ride. So that was the thought behind changing it, doing April and May here on Howe, and then June and July over on Wolf, and then foregoing the August meeting, just to help alleviate with vacations and that kind of thing.
So, Member, just to follow, so the main driver for changing the time was to meet regular,
Legislation.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Ackley?
No comment.
Okay, Councillor Holtman?
No, I'm glad to see that Survey Monkey come in and everybody is okay with it, so I'm good.
Okay, Councillor Jablonski?
Sounds great. Let's get it started.
Okay, when this was first brought up, we pointed out that the people from administration that are required to attend the council meetings, such as the CEO, clerk, and treasurer, could also stagger their hours to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And keep their days shorter that way. They could also stagger it in the morning the next day, and that for bringing it in. The Survey Monkey had at the most 43 respondents, which is 2% of the population. That said, that probably reflects about how many people are interested in council meetings, it seems. Because it seems like that number between the zoomed in group and the people that attend. And that's so. With that, I guess we can give it a try. You have a favorable report. I'm not sure how widespread the Survey Monkey was done, because I had several people tell me that they didn't get any Survey Monkey. Can you explain how that worked?
It wasn't sent out directly to individuals, it was on the township website. So yeah, staff posted it on the website. I believe it was down in the kind of notice area where we would do like public notices and any information items there.
Okay, so probably for the next couple of months, if we could monitor if there's more positive or negative feedback from the change, because, you know, the point of council meetings is not only to do the governance of the township, but it's also the opportunity for the public to have input and be mindful of it. So if we have inadvertently limited that unnecessarily, then we'll have to revisit it. And if it is overall accepted, then that would be wonderful as well. I personally don't have a problem with pairing up the dates for how I won that in order to accommodate Councillor Ackley at this point in time. My greater concern is when we go to daytime meetings in the future, people that have dates will be less likely to run for council because it impacts them. So that to me is far more concerning. That said, the county council, we meet in the daytime. So it does happen that, but it is something that is of concern. Councillor Jablonski?
That's, both COs and, CEOs here. No, we know county runs the daytime. What about the rest of the political field? Is there gonna run in daytime? Do you find something right time?
It's a combination of both, so I know the majority of counties that I've dealt with are all daytime meetings. It kind of depends on the incoming council coming in. If it's majority of younger members that all have daytime meetings and aren't able to work around those schedules, that kind of thing. It's nighttime meetings or evening meetings, so. I'm not sure if CEO Gilmore has experienced anything different or.
Through you, Mayor, my past employment, it was the same, you know, we had the evening meetings and then they all went to the daytime. So, and then we did a 3-month trial run, got feedback from the public and went from there, so.
Yes, Councillor Song.
Hey, Mayor, also in the clerk's report, 95% of the people who responded said they have access to the YouTube channel. And I think that's a major part of the whole, I guess, accessibility, if that's the right term, so.
I am concerned that it is just basically 2% of the population that responded. But as I said, it seems to reflect almost how many people come in, generally attend, and that's so. At this point in time, I'm going to ask for a mover and a seconder for this report. Councillor Ackley, Councillor Jablonski, and that the administration report numbered AD 002-24 regarding the 2024 council meeting schedule be received, and further the council approve administration report number AD 002-24 as presented and amended and support the recommendations. So just to review, the recommendations are the council will meet at 10 o'clock in the mornings. We will not meet in August, which is in keeping, I believe, with the county as well as KFLNA. And that Wolf Island Council chambers will be used January, March, June, July, September, November. And Howe Island will be February, April, May, October, and December. So we'll have one more extra meeting on.
Madam Mayor, if I may, also I'd like to point out a little bit different. Pardon me?
Moving to June?
Yes,
Okay.
both the, so the April eighth council meeting is scheduled for Monday, April the eighth, but it is also the solar eclipse that day. So I'm not sure if council members would still wish to have our council meeting that day, or if we would like to move it to the Tuesday. And then with respect to the June meeting, I'm recommending moving it to June the third, as the AMCTO conference is June 9th to the 12th, which staff will be attending.
And just for clarity, the April eighth, I believe it's around 2:40 or so in the afternoon that the eclipse, and we have a morning meeting.
Yeah.
So just to keep that in mind, and the CTO is for the Association of Municipal Clerks. And that's so our version of AMO, but for the clerks. That's what it. How does council feel about moving it for the eclipse? From the Monday to the Tuesday?
I think it'd be okay, but,
Councillor Ackley, you're saying not to move it?
I think we'll be done by then, so I think we should just continue on to leave it.
Okay. And Councillor Saunders, any thoughts?
Well, I know the schools are gonna be closed. I didn't realize this was such a big thing.
Mhm.
It's not like the world's shutting down, at least Ontario. But the schools will be shut down, right? So I don't know if that affects. I don't have an opinion. I'm good with whatever people decide. I don't have an opinion one way or the other. So-
Okay, Councillor Holton,
I'm fine with leaving it that day.
Councillor Devonicky?
Yeah, I've stopped howling at the moon a while ago, so I think I'm okay with that.
Okay, so we're probably good on keeping the Monday of the eighth, it sounds like. And that, but I think, because you wouldn't be here.
No, that's correct.
You know the value of going to an association of municipal clerks, right? Okay, so moving to June third. Everybody in agreement with that one? Yep. I'm seeing a lot of head nodding. Okay, so we've had Councillor Ackley and Councillor Jablonski moving second, that the administration report AD 2002-24 regarding the 2024 council meeting schedule be received. Further, the council approved the administration report AD 002-24 as presented and amended because now we're going to meet back in the eclipse date. And support the recommendations. All those in favor? Carried. You. Now, the next staff report. Administration report AD 003-24 Mustard Station Food Trailer Location. And we had prepared by Roy, our CAO, and reviewed by our new CAO, so. Okay.
Through you, Mayor. Yes, last council meeting, council requested for me to investigate a couple properties on Wolf Island for the location of the food truck. Community center being number one, it does not go with our bylaw 2019-27, so that bylaw does not support this location. The other piece of property that I looked at was on County Road number 95. This is a perfect spot for it. Entrances, location, parking, hydro, everything. However, it is not zoned properly for this food truck. There are steps, opportunities to make this happen, and we have highly educated planners in the room that may be able to answer it. But there are steps, there is a process that can be done to achieve having the food truck there, and I think there is quite a few steps. However, it can be done, but personally, I do like that location versus the community grounds, community center grounds, but it'll be up to the property owner if they want to take those steps, I guess, to have the food truck there.
Okay. Discussion, Councillor Saunders?
Thank you, Mayor. That's gonna be my question. So the onus would be on the property owner to initiate the change in the zoning, right?
That's great.
And what would that zoning change have to be, or
Can I
commercial?
call a friend?
I think we have one in the audience.
Planning is. Thank you, Demetrius.
No worries, yeah, so through Madam Mayor, the zoning would have to change to something that allows for commercial use or a food establishment, so you could either do an overall zoning change for that property to change from agriculture, which it is now, to commercial, or you can add an exception to the existing zone to allow for a food establishment or for a commercial use, so. And a change like that in the zoning would then be in line with the canteen bylaw. That one, yeah, the other one you mentioned, that 2022-17.
Okay, is there a charge for getting an exception input?
Yeah, so this fee for a zoning bylaw amendment, Madam Mayor, is $1,000 for the township. Now, that is under the current fee schedule, and those fee schedules do change over time, so that's present day
They're
fee.
going up.
Generally, they go up.
Madam Mayor, just, so who pays $1,000?
The property owner, that is.
And what's the timeline for something like that?
So Madam Mayor, the timeline is, I'd say about best case scenario, probably like 3 months, depending, because there's a legislative timelines that we have to follow where no changes can occur. We have to make sure that when an application is submitted, it goes to a council meeting, there's circulation timelines, so minimum 3 months, but that's like best case scenario.
Okay, any questions, Councillor Ackley?
Seems like a lot of stuff to change for a chip truck, you know, is, and is the gentleman that owns a chip truck, is he okay with the location? Did we hear from him at all? It's,
The property owner, definitely, is supportive of the location,
oh, okay, good.
but I don't know if the property owner is aware of all the steps that need to be.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Holton?
So that's the only way to do it. There's no, like, we can't grant a temporary one to zoning exemption or anything to.
No, Madam Mayor. Unfortunately, the Planning Act process, even for a temporary zoning bylaw amendment, which lasts for 3 years, maximum of 3 years, has to still go through the exact same process. So that's the regulations that the province sets out for us that we have to follow. So unfortunately, there's no easy way around it, but
It's the same price, same cost.
same price, same cost, same timeline, yeah. And then the difference really is whether it's temporary for up to 3 years or more permanent, and then that kind of lives and stays with the properties.
Okay. Councillor Jablonski?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Just, yeah, I know where Council Halton was going with this. It's one of the few businesses left on the island. And anything we do to cut the red tape a little more would be very helpful. We want to see these businesses survive right now. And right now, 3 months, I think, would be detrimental to this company. But you guys got the rules, Dimitri, so.
Well, I mean, Madam Mayor, I think it is important to mention that, like, as planning staff, we're not opposed to food trucks, and, you know, I think there is an opportunity to make the overall process of getting food trucks approved in the township or commercial uses approved in the township more easier and to cut the red tape, you know, so to speak. But and the way to do that is, you know, for perhaps the community to have a conversation and think about how does that incorporate into licensing, site plan approvals and zoning, and have these like larger conversations with the community that then we can in the future use those discussions to establish a much more streamlined process. So, I mean, for this instance, that doesn't really help it, but in the future, I think it's important to have these discussions.
And just from what you're talking about, it's March, April, May. It's actually not missing the season if they actually got on it. And that, because going out to Big Sandy Bay, we don't technically even open it till June first?
Yeah, that's right, Jim.
June first, so it would be within that time frame. And Horns Ferry doesn't get started until May itself usually. So from a timeline perspective, I don't see it as being completely detrimental. If he is coming in May and asking about it, then yeah, he's missed most of the season that, but he hasn't at this point in time. Counselor Jablonski?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'm just thinking about the setup time involved for this now. Actually get the truck there and hydro, probably washings, get things ready. I mean, again, I'm not trying to ask for a special favor, but whenever we can help these people along, would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, I mean, Madam Mayor, I will comment just from the planning department side. There are going to be, so we will do everything we can to try and prioritize this specific issue. I mean, right now, development is, like, we have more capacity to take on development work. Unfortunately, we are gonna be, short-staffed for a short period of time. You know, we have a staff member that's gonna be going on leave for a few months, so, that, and it's happening like next month, so, it's going to be, just giving you a heads up that, you know, we'll try and prioritize it, but, you know, there are, staffing issues as well from the county level in terms of, planning staff.
Okay, so in other words, it's not impossible for the person to get it done if he has that conversation, has a agreement of the owner. Probably the person with the chip truck would be paying the owner and that to cover their costs and that, but that's up to them at this point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that's fine.
one thing that I would also add for the property owners as well as the owners of the food truck, it'll be best to have the a submission to the planning department that is complete in terms of, we need a site plan showing all the distances to the food truck, what other types of accessory uses you're gonna have, are there gonna be washrooms, what's the parking situation gonna be like, where are the exits, where are the entrances, the size and widths of all that. So if we receive a more complete package, the faster we can move on this, because there'll be less back and forth. So we can certainly pre-consult on this, and we have to pre-consult on this, but it'll be up to the applicants to come to us and essentially request that meeting.
What was that?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not sure if there's a motion of it. I guess I would request that the business owner and the property owner meet expediently with staff to understand what all, and perhaps with you as well, Dimitri, to understand all this, and we can move it as fast or as quickly as possible. I support Councillor Jablonski's comment that this is a small business. I think small businesses are the heart of the community, and I think we ought to support that anyway. So I guess I'm asking, sorry, a little tangent there. I guess I'm asking how that staff approach, that maybe perhaps staff approach the property owner and the business owner and advise them of the situation and all the requirements of staffing, planning, and move as quickly as possible.
I'd just like to make the observation, if the business owner, right, the person that owns the land is sitting behind our planner right now.
I know
So
that.
I think there's an opportunity for them to take their own direction, and this is how business works. They figure out what's in their best interest, then they go to planning and ask for the appropriate changes, and then business continues on or doesn't. And that, but that's not really us, and that, you know, we just make sure the process is fair and equitable, and that's why the laws and rules are there. Okay, so back to, are there any other questions or comments on this? Okay, we need a mover and a seconder that the administration report AB 003-24 regarding the food truck location be received. And mover, Councillor Jablonski, and seconded Councillor Ackley. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor? Carried. Now, we have action items. One, that the Wolf Island Plowmen's Association sponsor request. Who would like to speak to that? Have somebody here today? Okay, well, then I guess I mention it, the Plowmen's Association. It's exciting, and that, we're gonna have the annual plow match August the 27th of 2024, 66th on Wolf Island. With an average of 35 to 40 participants, and they're asking for $250, which is usually what we have given. But what I found to be the exciting part about this was that August the 26th to the 30th of this year, Wolf Island will be hosting the Canadian Plowing Championship. And they're gonna be 2 days of practice and 3 days of competitive plowing in that, so. The question regarding this is, and I'll need a mover and a seconder, the council provides sponsorship of the Plowmen's Association for the 66th annual plowing match in the amount of $250. Is there any discussion? Councilor Thomas?
Yes,
Oh, I should get a mover and a seconder first, please.
I'll move it.
You move it, so, and seconded, Councilor Holton, okay? And
I would like to see us, encourage people requesting funds or support from council to come to council and make their pitch. I think there's two things. It provides us more background. The other gives an opportunity for that group to get the message out there, what things are going on. It's a great way to communicate. So I would support this in future. I'd ask that they come and actually make the request in person.
okay, Councilor Ackley?
Have we supported this previous?
Councilor Holton?
I will take the blame for that because Janine asked me about it and I said to put in a letter. So that's why she's not here. I told her that a letter would be fine. I honestly thought their request was going to be more, so I don't understand if this 250 is on top of what we usually give them. Because they have the Canadian, the last time they had the Canadian Championship, town council paid for their insurance. We're helped them with their insurance, so. I'm not sure whether we should contact her again, or if she's good with that.
I will say, I have had a discussion with somebody connected with this, and it seems that they may be more flush than they have been in the past.
Okay, good. That is always good.
That's what I thought. Counselor Jablonski?
No, I'm fine with that. Bring on the competition.
Okay, so I have the mover and seconder that the council provides sponsorship of the Plowmen's Association for the 66th annual plowing match in the amount of $250. All those in favor? Carried. Now, Deputy Mayor Saunders, motion for council development session.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So if I could, to the clerk, is it best, procedure to read out this, since this was read out before, do we read it again?
The wording has changed just a little bit from what your
Yeah.
original, so I would,
Okay, so my motion to council is, whereas the council has the first year of their initial term of council completed, and whereas council has accomplished many things and is going to learn a great deal, and whereas the first year has been difficult to say the least with staff turnover and council disconnect between members. Now therefore be it resolved that council directs staff to develop and schedule a council development session focused on improving council performance. The development session will focus on more effective, efficient council meetings, review council roles and responsibilities, establish common goals, common objectives and priorities. That's my motion.
Okay, do you have a seconder for that? Councilor Holt. Okay, discussion? Councilor Ackley?
I think it sounds good.
Okay. Councilor Holton?
I think it sounds good. I think we could use it.
Okay, Councilor Jablonski?
Yes, we gotta fix this disconnect amongst us and get back to brass tacks. So yes, I support.
And I just have a question, this is in-person training versus the AMO offers a virtual training. And that's, do you have a specific, company involved or?
Yeah, I would ask staff to reach out to find someone who could facilitate a meeting with council, not a virtual one, not a sort of a off-the-shelf, council meeting 101 sort of thing. Because implied in here is talking objectives and priorities, which we have not really. We only had one session of this, which was I think our second meeting back in November, December, when we were first elected. And in my, if I can add a comment, Madam Mayor, in my view, looking at other councils, we are in a very unique position. We have all new staff turnover, all new elected officials. And we've just been in a constant state of turmoil. And that may be a bit of a strong term, but a state of flux. And I think now is as good a time as any to sort of stop, pause, take a look at what we've been doing, really agree on what our priorities are, where we should be moving forward, what things we're gonna focus on. And I think it would put us in good shape for the remainder of our term. So the answer is, this would not be virtual. This would be something facilitated by a trained professional.
Okay, trained professional that's skilled in municipal government.
Yeah.
And that, okay, so there should be and we did have the one set of sessions and that when we were first elected in, and we did have priority setting sessions and that was not guided. And that, so this is potentially good and that, I know AMO does the virtual settings and I found they're gonna be high price, $575 for a virtual setting and that per person, and that compared to if we can get a lawyer that is expert in governance and municipal governance in particular, probably be a good idea. And that, so, any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Look forward to that. Okay. Now, unless there's something different in my chair, we have the public question, okay, public question period. Okay, step forward, state your name, your address, and it needs to be on something that's been covered in the agenda. Okay,
Do I have to stand or can I?
no, you can say, no problem, but you need to say your name and what your address is, so the clerk gets record of it.
My name is Kimberly Thomas, 15 Pine Road, Wolf Island, Ontario, Canada. Proud Island member. Thank you for letting me speak on the time change for the council meetings. I'm a bit concerned. I'm sorry that I don't have the report that you referred to, but what time are you changing it to?
10 a.m.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, if I may, from 4 p.m. to 10 a.m. To 10 a.m.
Mm.
And so I do have a concern, the Survey Monkey, you're talking about the 2% that might be engaged in the council meetings. I think one of the priorities of this council might be to get more community involvement, more people engaged. I think it's a critical part of this islands, both of them doing what we need. And I know there's a lot of retired people on the island, but there's a lot of people that are young, work. There's a lot of people that have families, and an evening meeting is a lot more convenient than 10 a.m. To get here today, I left my home at 1:15 and I know I was still late. So it's ferries, I understand that. I'm sorry about the staff having to stay later, but when I called around to other municipalities, I found that quite a few of them still do have 7 p.m. meetings. Some of them even have it weekly at 7 p.m. I agree, we can't ask our staff to work anything that's illegal, but could we not give them the next day off? Don't come in the next day. It's 1 day a month. Consider that, please. I think it's important that we get people engaged in municipal politics to run. God willing, you're all gonna get elected again, but there might be people that want to run against you and you want business. Well, business people can't usually come to daytime meetings at 10 a.m. In the old days, they used to close the liquor store, the bank, all of the local businesses, so that the business people who were on council could attend the meetings that they were part of. I would encourage council sort of segueing to the other, having someone in to set priorities, maybe committees of people in the community could be more engaging to get people involved. Let's talk to them. Okay, Survey Monkey, great. If you see Survey Monkey, if you know what it even means. But talking to people seems to be the way that things get done around here. So if you guys have a priority, then ask the community to come in and get involved in a subcommittee. Currently have one going now for the cenotaph. It's for very interested Wolf Island residents we need. The other thing that I might mention is if we're gonna do it at 10 a.m., I hope that the internet connection is settled. Today, for example, at 4 o'clock, I got a message that there was, just prior to 4 o'clock, it said that the link would come up soon.
after 4 o'clock, the link came up, but it couldn't be linked into, till we got this meeting going. Then the person I was speaking to in any case got linked in. So we have some technological problems. You want people to come in and work to you guys, in an in-person meeting to set objective and priorities, because there is value in in-person meetings. Yeah, everybody can go Zoom, but come on, guys, we're Wolf Island, we're Hell Island, we're people. So if we can just really open this question up to the community in an open way and give staff the next day off, can we consider that? I would like to just raise a strong objection to it. And sorry, I don't mean to be crabby, but that's what I think.
Okay,
Okay?
anybody want to respond to that? Counselor Saunders?
No, I appreciate you taking the time to express your view. Nothing says that if this doesn't work, we can't change it back again.
Great.
Counselor Ackley?
Again, next council, they can change it to whatever they wanted to, if like Councilor Saunders or Deputy Mayor Saunders said. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and we can change it back the other way.
Okay.
Pretty simple, I think.
Okay, Counselor Holton?
Yeah, I'd be the same. I think we need to try it. And, the people I talk to face to face, most of the people don't care what goes on a council. Let's be honest, they care when their tax bill comes and when their road needs to be fixed, but most of the time they don't. So they were, yeah, whatever time you have it. That was the opinion so I think we should go ahead and try it and see what works.
Okay, Counselor Jablonski?
Thank you, Mayor. If I ask CEO, can we tell me how people are on the call right now?
It's a very good question. Last I checked, there was like 14 on here. Let me just. Twenty-two. I have 22 participants, right?
So keeping in line with
Good.
about what we had.
I was thinking about the Survey Monkey, it's close to what we have, you know, all the time. Nope, I agree with everybody else, if it doesn't work, please go back. If we show people show big interest and want to start dialing at 4 o'clock or 7 o'clock, and we can change it back again. What are the public needs?
Okay, and I think that there are some key progress indicators that are self-evident that we can keep track of, and that is how many people are attending in person and how many people are coming in online. And while we haven't had attendance sheets for council meetings and that, generally speaking, we could probably take the estimate of 5 to 7 usually come to council. And that not counting the planners when they show up, something of that nature. So if we see a marked drop in attendance based at 10 o'clock timeframe, that would be a warning sign. Maybe we'll see a marked increase of seniors that aren't afraid to drive at night. I don't know. And then I know some people don't like to come out to Euchre at 7 o'clock at night because they're afraid of the dark and the deer in the wintertime, so I don't know. So let's give it a shot and see if there's a dramatic difference, and if it's a difference to the negative, then there's nothing engraved in stone that this council can't go back and say, oops, made a mistake. But as for adjusting the time frame for work, that's the easy piece in my mind in that, because there's really only 3 designated staff that need to be at the meeting, and they can come in at 1 o'clock the next day if we are at the evening session, and that gives you the 12 hours off. It's not, and it is 12 hours. If you usually have to have a break between shifts. So that's the other thing, but we might actually end up with better attendance than that at 10 in the morning. I don't know. Let's give it a shot.
Thank you.
Okay?
Hello, thank you very much. I've got a cold, so I will remain masked. My name is Alex Carr Harris. I'm at 37 Bellevue Lane, Wolf Island. I am thrilled to hear Deputy Mayor Saunders, that the idea of addressing the obvious discord within council, and that you are all willing to come to the table and work on this. This is very exciting. Super thrilled when you were all threw your hats in the ring to run for council and to have this change and to have leadership again on our island. And that it's been difficult. You've been handed quite a lot to navigate. and most of it's not yours. So I am very grateful that you are in this office. I'm very grateful that you're doing this work. In terms of, and so what I'm wondering, because it is a little disconcerting as a community member to see this discord. And then the process of engagement, rules of engagement. Obviously, there's processes and rules of engagement for you as council members to engage with each other with respect, productively, transparently. And that's what you're working towards. That's amazing. In terms of as a community member, when I have questions, if I want to understand, I want context. I don't read bylaw. I really don't. Like, I read the minutes and I'm like, it takes me a few runs. So I'm like, and then what does that mean? Things are happening, but why? I understand. And so if I can't access this information, so this is it. So I'm like, not only is it important for the communication and working on this as a team for you guys as leaders in our community, which I'm counting on. It's also, how do I engage as a community member? There are a lot of very passionate humans on our islands, very skilled, that are willing to also throw their hat in the ring as committees, business associations, seniors, medical clinics, Remembrance Day, what was the thing, the Historical Society. There's a bunch of people that want to participate. What are the rules of engagement? How do we come to the table that we're not wasting your time, that we feel heard? Angry humans are often humans that don't feel heard. I feel that that's fairly consistent, right? So I'm like, give me the rules of engagement. I want process behind me, but I need to understand it. Make it accessible. Make it clear, make it consistent. I really appreciated the agenda, the 75-page doc today. Wow. Serious background. That was awesome. I love the context. Thank you. Now I understand much better. How do I get that more? So as working together as a team and creating this, it's also your community as part of this team. I'm very grateful for you. I am counting on you. And I want a way to interact in a way that is respectful and productive, and we grow forward together. I'm done with the silos. I don't want to fight. I don't want disrespect. I don't want to feel stupid for not understanding something that's put forward. I don't speak those languages. I should feel safe. Staff should feel safe in their offices. This is important. We have an amazing community. And we all want to do better together. So I applaud and I'm so grateful that you're willing to do this work here. And now, how do we do it better together with you as your community members? I want that. So that's kind of more of a statement, but now I really want to know is how can you make that happen?
Okay,
Is
I'm
that
going
fair?
to direct that to the clerk at this point in
Yes,
time, because
she's awesome.
you're talking about procedure.
That's right.
So, Ms. Carr Harris and I had a conversation earlier today. I tried to help her understand the processes for residents to be able to come as a delegation. So for those of the residents that aren't sure what that means, it's their ability to come and speak to council on a specific matter of what is important to them. So under our procedural bylaw, the residents have to get their request in the Tuesday prior to the council meeting. And normally I meet with the mayor and the deputy mayor on the Monday prior to, but I try to have as much information on that agenda as possible, so they're not surprised with what may be coming up. So prior to this, Ms. Carr Harris and I were emailing back and forth, and email is great. However, you know what? The telephone is much better, because once we actually talked today, we understood what each other was talking about. So going forward, again, if anyone wishes to be a delegation to speak to council, have any questions or concerns, please reach out to staff, whether it be email, telephone. If we can't answer at that time, we will look into it and get back to you. So.
And so going forward, is it possible, like, in terms of like a different platform, like, so that things like in layman's terms for humans? So our example today was I sent forward an email asking for certain items to be included on the agenda. Off I went, or I thought I did the thing. I didn't hear anything, so I was like. Then I checked in, I didn't do the thing, I didn't do it right, I didn't know that, but I also didn't know, but I wasn't confirmed or denied. So I jumped in and then Vanessa explained, and I was like, oh, so. Then we had this conversation, and then she's like, this is the process, I'm like, I thought I did that, and she's like. Again, all the wording, I don't speak bylaw, so unless, I need it in layman's terms, so somewhere where we can have it so that people think they do the thing. They actually do the thing, because then when we feel like we're not being heard, what happens? I disconnect, and I go hang out with people that speak my language, and we all make up stories, and now y'all have targets on it. It's terrible, right? So we don't feel safe, we wanna be heard, and we wanna have a process to engage in mutually respectful and productive way, so.
So going forward, there is a form, that's part of our procedural bylaw, to request being a delegate before council. I'm not 100% sure if that's on our website or not, but I will work to get it up there and put it all in layman's terms, so everyone understands. This is what you have to do, this is the process, these are the dates that you need to get it in by. You know, if you have any questions or concerns, my name and number will be there, that you can always reach out and contact me, so.
And then in terms of like, so I read the document today, and there's some things in there that I was like, oh. I know more now than I did before, and there were some things that, how do I do this? There's a thing that I read. I'm like, okay, well, this is sort of alarming, because this is technically not, this shouldn't have been the case. I'm being very vague right now, I'm trying on purpose. Now I have a question about that. Can I bring that so that it's out in the open? Not now, I know, because it's not on topic, but as a thing, going forward, can I say, hey, I read this document and I have a question?
Anytime, yeah. That's what staff is here for. If you have any questions or concerns, if anything's not clear, please reach out.
But then when can it be published? Like, so I guess what I'm saying is like, it's, people read the stuff and then I'm like, oh, context. This is what we're doing to address this. Yes, we see this, we know this. Yes, we're working on like putting it out so that we know.
Sorry,
I
Alex.
know I'm being vague, sorry.
So more of trying to get it onto the council agenda, is that what you mean? So it's open for,
No, I want, like, I go into the website right now, you have to dig. And it's really not an easy site, and I'm not, but I'm
no,
like,
and I realize that. So if I may, depending on when, and hopefully very soon, we will get the budget passed.
mhm,
That being said, my proposal as part of the budget is, it's called Diligent Community, where we would have our own township portal. And on that portal, it gives you all of our meetings, it gives you all of our minutes, our bylaws, all of our information on there. There's a calendar on there. You can see when upcoming meetings and all that kind of thing is. So all I'm asking is please be patient with us. We are trying to make things better for our residents going forward, but it's going to take a little bit of time, so.
amazing, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm like, just a second, just give me a second. Oh yeah, okay, so then in terms of the process of working on the Discord within council, what? So yes, you're pulling in a third party, which is amazing, in person, awesome. Then what is the pathway of accountability based on procedures and processes to date? How, so it's great, you come together and you're working on this, and then you're like looking at roles, responsibilities, doing it better. And then how, because it's also accountability to us, right? I want my leadership. I want your awesome. And how we do that. So what is the accountability process in terms of like, how are you gonna hold yourselves accountable to this mission to be a team? Is that fair? Is that something that somebody else has to figure out?
Would you like to answer that, Madam Mayor, or would you?
I believe there's a question in there, just in general.
Accountability. I want
Yeah,
accountability.
We can't get the cart before the horse, and if we're gonna have this, training. And we may come up with something new and different. That said, there's an underlying thing called the Municipal Act, and there are rules in there
Yes,
and narrow scope, and
Yeah.
with that, there's been lots of court cases settled and did precedents and clarified a few other things, but there is leeway within there and that, and there's also some things that are very specific. So from an accountability perspective, the ultimate accountability will occur in about 2 3/4 years when we have another election. And that's when the community can truly hold us all accountable.
I'm asking you to
Because
hold
there'll be a-
yourselves accountable. You are responsible for these roles.
No, no,
You
that's
entered
already-
into that. So that's what I'm asking for, because that's why we voted through them.
Yeah, and that's everyone's personal
Yes,
role,
yeah,
and there's a legal framework around it. So we need to work better at it,
right,
and we will,
okay,
but from a community perspective, in all realism, if you want something onto the agenda, you need to come as a delegation. You need to get it on that way. You are not the counselor. So when you're reading through the package and you're quite concerned, that's exactly why I had the public question period put
Yeah.
in.
it's great,
But
appreciate
you're not in the decision making. That's where you hold us accountable as to how we vote. And that's why we try to get as much information, make an informed decision.
Right.
And that, so there will always be somebody that isn't happy with the way we went on something, and that's the reality of it. So we have guidelines, and we try to get expert opinion and legal opinion, and we have to try to follow stuff like that.
it.
Whether we personally would like to see something else different may be the case, but if the best solution to keep us away from lawsuits that we would lose because we didn't follow our legal opinion or we didn't follow the rules and regulations of the government, we have to abide by that. That's the nature of government. So I hope that that helps you in that. But for the personal discord, there's always going to be a variety of opinions. The rumor mill unfortunately takes off like gasoline.
Yeah.
My personal actions are usually to pull the wood out of the fire. Because as soon as you start adding more wood in with other versions, it just explodes all the further. So I think we've come to, anybody else have anything you want to say? Councillor Saunders?
Thank you, Member. So Alex, first of all, thank you for your passion. The beauty of youth is passion. Two things. One is deputations, I have talked about, deputations can sound intimidating. They're not. You don't have to come in like a polished professor and deliver. Just get the idea out here, and I know council will work with the intent, okay? The other is, if we can do this development session properly, we will have a plan that we will review at least every 6 months and adjust as possible, and then have frank conversations about ourselves as to where we're following. So an outcome from the session, as I see it, is a document that we can hold ourselves accountable to.
Right,
That's my hope. I don't know if that's gonna happen after this.
okay.
Councillor Ashley?
Yeah, again, I think we need to work better as a team, that's like Councillor Saunders, or Deputy Mayor Saunders, yeah, Bill, sorry. Brought this forth, right? Because we all need to work together. That's how, I use the word team, and I think everybody, Mike has teams at the fire station. Troy has his own team.
You bet.
We all have teams. We need to work together to move forward, spend money properly, focus on a direction, try not to overload staff, try not to be a lone wolf and some stuff. We're a team. We should be talking about things as a team, because we'll get further with MTO and whoever else as a team rather than as a lone wolf is the word I said. So in that direction, we're all trying to move forward by what Bill's gonna do.
Right,
So.
sweet.
Councillor Holcomb?
So I would agree with those two guys. Hopefully this is a chance for reset and out of it. Policies and procedures are coming down, so maybe some of this will be reflected in it, keep us accountable, so. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, Councillor Blonicky?
Yeah, I really can't add much more. You guys have covered all the bases, everything's got the bases, so, yeah, we recognize there's a little bit of a shortfall here. That's what we've done was stretch to do the council training, so it took us a year to get, we thought things might get better, they haven't, so it's time for some training.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're clear here, that it's not like you were handed a beautiful sandwich, like, is it, there's been a lot, so I just want to put that out there. I know that there's been a lot, and I applaud you for keeping it and doing it and coming to the table to make it work. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your concern, and I will say, I have made this suggestion many months before, and I'm glad that it's moved forward as a motion. I would have thought could have been brought virtually through administration early on, but we eliminated the training budget for last year, so that didn't help us either. So hopefully this year in the new budget, we'll have some training involved. Because if we don't have it in the budget, then that becomes problematic too. But that was actually last year, we eliminated conferences and training and all sorts of things. So I'm looking forward to improvements.
Well, that's good, because y'all have to be looking forward to it, or it ain't gonna work. All right, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, any more? We have another question, yes?
Joanne Forsythe, 197 Good Friend Drive. Alex has pretty much covered a lot of what I was going to say, so I'll try not to reiterate some of the things that Alex has brought forward. Thank you to Bill for the suggestion, and you've identified that that was out there before. Because residents that I have talked to or that have come to me have indicated that they think that there is an obligation of our council to move forward with this as quickly as possible. So I know it's been identified as mid-March, and the budget is probably the #1 priority to get completed, which it should be, but this should definitely be the next thing that is on the agenda. I think in the 38 years that I worked for a very large company, I attended a lot of development sessions, and it's a possibility that maybe you will come out of this development session with not getting everything that you think you need to move forward. So the possibility of mediation and development are two very different things. So I just like council to consider the idea that if the development process doesn't give them the tools that they feel is necessary to work cohesively as a council, that they would look at mediation. Saying that, then you're right, that there needs to be money in the budget to go forward with something like that. Because I know we talk about a year, but we're 16 months in since the council was elected in November. And I think we're hoping to learn from hindsight. We don't want to lose any more. I think we need to acknowledge that we don't want to lose any more additional staff, or we don't want to lose a counselor. We need to move forward as Frontenac Islands, because we had to deal with so many budget issues in 2023, and without the cohesion in council, for us to progress forward the way that I think we can as Frontenac Islands, there's a lot of both Wolf Island and Howe Island can offer, but our elected officials need to be that team going forward with all the residents. So again, it was more like a statement, but I had something prepared and most of it was covered. The next thing I wanted to talk about was communication. I think one of the biggest things that lacks within Frontenac Islands is communication. We're in the 21st century. You would believe that that should be the easiest thing to be accomplished at this point. 4 things in the last month. The Survey Monkey, resignation of a CAO, appointment of a CAO, and the requirement for a municipal treasurer. Yes, they were on the website, but if people don't go to the Frontenac Islands website on a regular basis, they would never know that that communication is out there. I did fill out the Survey Monkey, but that was just by chance, because I was going to look for other things on the website. And when I phoned my neighbors to say, did you see this? Like, I know you said that it was probably posted somewhere else in Wolf Island, but it was never known to anybody on Howe Island unless they went onto the website. So there's 4 crucial pieces of information, and we do not have a way to communicate it. When I owned property in the city of Kingston, probably 12 years ago, with one of our tax bills, they requested if the residents wanted to give them their email address, that they would set up a communication. And it is called news@cityofkingston.ca. And they actually send that out. I still get it, even though I'm not a taxpayer there anymore, because I've never taken myself off the list, because I do lots of things in Kingston. So it's nice to know what roads are gonna be closed or what's happening, you know, with our neighbor. Something like that. I know Vanessa's talked about the portal, but with our tax bill coming out, if we could ask residents if they would like to have their email addresses, if they would like email addresses, something could be set out, and all these news briefings or job opportunities, they could all go under that email. I mean, one of the titles is City of Kingston Communications and Public Engagement. And then they just put whatever they feel they want their taxpayers, residents to know. So I think it's really important that we address communication, because that's how rumors start. That's how the discord starts, with residents not knowing what's going on. And I know we say that we have a website, but I don't mean to be, how do I say this? There used to be, if you wanted to be a delegation, because I used it to be a delegation in December 2022, there was a Word document on our website that identified everything you needed to do as a delegate. I can't find that now. Because I tried to help the Wolf Island residents know how to do that. So I just gave them the expertise that I knew by doing it, because I could no longer find the Word document on the website. It was there because I used it in December 2022. I think that's all I have to say. If anybody has a question of me or has a statement they would like to make.
Okay, Councillor Saunders?
Thank you, Member. Thank you, Joanne. Totally, I struggle, and I know I keep following my intent versus my action. That don't always match up. I try to use about the only tool I have right now, which is that Facebook page, to get messages out. But I don't do it as regular as I should, and I really feel like we just don't have a good tool. Perhaps to the clerk, these email sites, how does that, can we set something like that up where people can register and they receive, like we get for the ferry? Is it possible?
You mean they get a notification once there's something new on the portal that Vanessa's talking about? Is that what you're saying?
Some tool where you submit your email, and now whatever comes out of that, whatever information comes out, gets directed to your email, so.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor, so there is a link on there that you can sign up, put your email address and stuff in there. And I'm just basing on the way I used to use it. It's a link in there that you can watch live stream, or you can get updates and that kind of thing. Stay tuned with me. I will inquire further as to what I can and cannot do with that portal. Ultimately, my goal is to have the majority of our information up there, that it's all out there for our residents, and it's not, you know,
And that may
hunting and
answer,
packing all
and that
over
may answer the
website.
question.
Yeah.
or may answer the need, but I still think there's a need to send an email out that says portal updated and one headline of what it is. That's just a suggestion, because it's no different than the website of people knowing when they need to go to the portal.
Maybe I just a follow-up question. So, to the clerk, are we putting money in the budget for this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Ackley?
I have no comment.
Councillor Halton?
This is a big issue. It seems to come up and up. I mean, and I get a little confused on it because some people like social media and some people like think that their website should be better and some people like email and then some people want to print it and put it up. Our website, I find it very easy to use now because I spent a lot of time on it, but I found it very cumbersome at the start. That said, once you get it figured out, it's great because all the surrounding townships use the same thing. I do find that you make better use of it, where there's notifications, bylaws is one of the things that I'd like to be able to search more and find things quickly, so. We discussed this at budget, that we need some software updates, and it's rapidly becoming a big priority for our new CAO.
Okay, Councillor Jablonski?
No, thanks, Joanne, too. Yeah, communication is an issue. I mean, we can cover as many bases, we're gonna try to cover as many bases as we can. There's also one fraction of people who don't even have emails on the island.
That's right.
So we're back to general mail or postings of some sort, so. Yeah, I mean, the electronic version is nice. It's the people who don't have that little extra touch of electronic version they can get their hands on to, so we have a big problem.
Which was always nice though, when we got our tax bill and you would have a full page of important information or things that were happening on the island, the dates when Sandy Bay would open and, you know, specific things that were happening. That was also attached to that tax bill for those people who don't deal with social media or emails.
If I make one more statement, perhaps. I was in swim of Dan. I got onto that web portal we have. I was lost. I wasn't too sure I got the right municipality. So it took me a while to get used to it. So I understand the pain of going through. About like Dan myself, I went through going over and over and I go, oh, now I know where things are. These guys spend some time on it. But we will address the issue. Communication's been a bit of an issue. We need more of a general communication from the entire group.
Timely communication also
Timely and.
that will help dispel rumors that get started and, you know, I know one of the things that is personal for me is when an agenda doesn't get posted until one business day before the council meeting, then it's very difficult to look at those agenda items and, you've lost your opportunity to be a delegate if you see something there that's going for third reading, because you're no longer within that time frame to be a delegate at that meeting. So I did address that with both Troy and Vanessa in June, and I know that you were looking to try to even put a draft up. You identified it as a draft, like you were looking at a 2-week time frame for minutes, at least that's what you said in the month of June. That's what I wrote down. I didn't write it down correctly, then you'll have to correct me, but that's what I wrote down.
So Madam Mayor, if I may, through you, so the minutes, yes, unfortunately, I have not been able to get the drafts up as quickly as what I had intended. Just with everything that's kind of gone on and the multiple hats that I've been wearing, so that's on me with respect to the minutes. However, I would like to clarify, even if the agenda is posted on Thursday, you would not be able to be a delegate on the following Monday. You would have to get that in prior to.
I will agree with that, but what
Yeah.
I'm saying is, when the first time you see the minutes, or when the agenda is posted one business day before the meeting, you've lost any opportunity, because if you were sick and weren't able to attend by Zoom or attend the meeting, you don't see the minutes of those meetings, so you don't see something going forward that you would like to be a delegate to discuss it on.
Gotcha, I understand, yes.
That's all, my time's up.
Okay,
Madam Mayor, if I could just want to
okay,
pick
and I
up.
still haven't talked too. Okay, yeah.
The purpose of this is to address any last minute stuff. So if you see there's bylaws coming up for third reading and you don't agree with it, this is your opportunity.
That's right.
So the delegations, I think, are in a different category. These are, we have a plan for a big tourism event or something, and we want council support. Those are we're gonna do a uke, or I don't know, we want to recreate bigger items to come forward with a delegation, basically informing or requesting council for support. And I think those are two kind of different.
I know they are because I made a delegation presentation, so I'm well aware of the differences.
Yes,
But other people aren't, which is why I'm here
Yeah.
speaking not just for myself, but for other people too.
thank you.
Okay, let me get my 2 cents in, and that is one of the first meetings that we had early last year, and that where we did do our prioritizing. Communication was number one. And it has been a challenge all the way along in that, on the Wolf Island side, there are designated bulletin boards that previous councils had put onto the ferry that are secured, and that specifically for council. And sadly, in that, it still has a May agenda on it, and that, so it's been a challenge in that all the way along. And that's exactly one of the reasons why I started my letters from the mayor. That said, I'm very conscious of privacy in that, so in my letters from the mayor, and that I have a site that you can sign up, and you don't want to be inundated with my thoughts on a daily or every other day basis, so I try to do it every 2 weeks to a month, and that whenever there's something significant. But it was my attempt to try to bring things to light, because communication has been a failing all the way along, and I do hope that we do get an improvement of it. And that's a challenge, especially when I have a dozen islands. And the Wolf Island side has a bit of an advantage because there is a post office, there are hotels, et cetera, and I drop things off and whatever. But over here, it's much more challenging that, because aside from the library, there really isn't a central hub to share that information out, and yet capturing people's email that they don't want to get an email from. And that seems very rude on my part in that. So, for example, when I was doing the research for Roma, for our Howe Island and Wolf Island delegation packages, I tripped over top of some surveys and actually some reports that other members weren't aware of. And in one of them, that it had 80% of the islanders on Howe Island had voted in favor of a bridge at one point, and then it was MTO that pulled the rug out from underneath. At this point in time, that's the question that I would personally like to have a thumbnail survey done. And I'd asked our CAOs and that if there's any problem in during the tax bill, having a question, would you like a bridge? Would you like a new ferry? Would you like an expanded ferry from the original? And that basically get the temperature so that we don't go pushing down the wrong line without consulting fully with the people of Howe Island, and it would be specific to the Howe Island mailing. But to me, that's a very reasonable approach. That's not an official survey that the Ministry of Transportation would undertake, et cetera, but it would be a good litmus test for us to know whether or not we're standing on quicksand, if we're saying we want a new 20-car ferry, when the reality is most of the islanders, if they had the option of the bridge, might go that way. Or if they want a secondary larger ferry at the other end. Those are basic questions that I would like to know as mayor, because when I'm dealing with MTO and the council's dealing with MTO, I know the opinions of some of the councilors, but that's not everybody on the island, and there has to be a broader consultation. And a few months back, we were asked to do a strategic plan. And there's actually a strategic plan that was started at the tail end of the previous council, and it got stopped by this one. And a strategic plan involves extensive consultation with all the community members so that we get it right. And we haven't done that piece yet. It's going to cost us money if we go down that route. We need to go down that route.
Well, communication also equals community involvement.
Yes.
So my suggestion on that would be, if those types of things are so overwhelming and so large, then that's where you break it up into segments, and you might ask for some community involvement in putting together some very small community individuals who want to look at those types of things and get feedback to council. But I'm gonna step away, but I'm just gonna say in an important subject, something like ferry or a bridge, anything like that would have to have at least mail outs to every taxpayer on an island. It can't just be something that's done on a website or social media or a monkey survey.
Yeah, it seems to me like the perfect time frame would be with the tax mailing, because some people have an address far and away from this island,
That's
that they
right.
own property here.
They own property, but they're not
Yeah.
physically here.
But it wouldn't replace what the MTO will probably do in their larger report. But I think it would give us an early indication as to what the mood of the island people that pay their taxes and that actually feel.
Well, I
I'm glad
thank
to
you all
hear
for
it.
your time. I even got more time today than I did when I was a delegate.
Yes, I'm supposed to keep you to 2 minutes. So much for that, eh? 2 minutes.
I won't be here 10 minutes. Valerie Robb, 1978, on my seat, Holland Drive. I just wanted to expand a little bit on communication. Absolutely think it's critical, many ways to do it. I know you guys will find the right way to do it. But one thing I'm aware of that's, you know, mailings and your tax bill aren't gonna, address, and that's that I understand that the tax bill this year will be 50% at the end of March, 50% at another time. Like, is that correct? Did I read that right in the minutes? That
The tax bill comes in.
the tax bill
Just
that
a
we're
second
paying,
here. We'll let the
That's
treasurer
yes.
chat.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So the interim tax bill, like you've always received, is based on 50% of your previous year's
Right.
taxes.
Right.
So 50% of 2023 taxes
Uh-huh.
is broken down into two payments, your March and your June installment.
Right.
Your final tax bill, which goes out in August, is your final tax is based on the tax rate that is set by council for 2024. Less your payments that you've made for your for your interim taxes due in August and October.
Right. And that's not changing?
No.
Okay, so I misunderstood, so I apologize, because I thought I heard or read that when the tax bill was coming, and if it's not happening, doesn't matter, that 50% of the taxes were due at the end of March, not March and June or whatever, so that's fine, thank you. But those are the kinds of things too that you've got to think about when I think those are things like taxes, things like if you're gonna close Sandy Bay completely, or you're gonna change when the recycling days are here, people have to know ahead of time, not when they drive up on a Thursday night to find out that it's closed and someone didn't tell us, so. And it's much more challenging on Howe Island because we don't have the facilities that exist on Wolf Island, but any numbers of or like the community Facebook, but I think an email blast is a really good idea, where, you know, you put out, and that would have to go to the mail, because people would have to give their consent for you to have their email. Once you've got it, then it's writing one, it's not simple, but you know, you're just writing it once and it just, you know, it goes to everybody, and if people don't want it, then they can ask for their email to be taken off, right? But anyway, that's all. Thank you.
It doesn't hit everybody with accessibility issues and vision, et cetera. I spent Sunday speaking with somebody that has a hearing problem and a vision problem. We got through it. Okay. All right, so is there anybody online? Oh, we have somebody else here, okay?
Mike Bromley, Wolf Island. I can really only talk as a Wolf Island resident. Communication's been mentioned over and over again. I think it's critically important. Whether you love it or hate it, the mayor's message every month was easy to sign up for. It was just a QR code that I found on the boat. I'll get it whenever it comes out. I read it when I can. You have the option of sending a response email if you want, but I've never found the need to do that. Going to the website for something like a Survey Monkey, I didn't even know there was a survey going on, and I thought I was reasonably well informed. I do get the notifications of the meetings. I signed up for that, so it's kind of curious that something as significant as council meetings, and I think you'll recall that I've attended a few meetings in person. I don't understand why it's that difficult to send a notice of something like this. I've always been a proponent of getting young people to the island, young people to produce kids to go to our schools and run for council. And I think that changing the time of the meeting, well, it might be good for staff. I think it prevents younger people that work during the day from even contemplating running. And as I look around the table and look in the mirror, there's a lot of gray hair, people that are retired, semi-retired, or self-employed. And that is supposed to be a minority of the population, and I fear that Wolf Island will just be a ring of gray-haired people with their waterfront properties not engaged in the community, so that's a communication aspect. The other thing I just wanted to speak to was the food truck. The last council meeting I attended, didn't know that Mustard Station was gonna make a submission. My entire entrepreneurial life has been about problem solving. So I know these people, I know the food is good. And I just went to the back of the room and I asked one of them, would my spot out on 95 be something you'd be interested in? He said, yes. Spoke with Troy after the meeting. He asked me to send him an email the next morning. I sent him a robust email. I don't just do things off the cuff. I tend to have a lot of information and tips, and then I will make some calls. So I covered all aspects of this, and I hear Councillor Jablonski mention business, anything that's good for business all the time, and I understand he supports them. But what I heard from planning, and no, nothing against planning, it's important, is actually an obstacle to business. I offered that site for no money, much like there's a sea can in the back of that property that's the historical societies. I'm not looking to make money. I don't want it to be a place for food trucks. It solves the problem and there's a need there. So in Durham region, when things like this cropped up, they had we can't afford this, but they had a business development officer, his name was Grant Whittington. And he would hear from people like food truck owners, and then he would go to the various people and departments and figure a way of how to solve it, because if it happened once, it could happen again. Does this council want this type of thing happening? And if so, 3 months, I mean, our season is so short, and these people have already been through enough. And I don't want my zoning changed to, you know, a restaurant, an industrial or whatever. That's not what I'm interested in. And hopefully it'll work for them. And then they might be able to rent a spot if there's ever any commercial space in there. So I just wanted to, as an entrepreneur, it just makes you shake your head because it certainly is not business friendly. I don't really know what purpose it serves. I covered everything in that email to Troy, which if you want to share it with the other councilors, feel free. I don't know if it's in your package. That's it.
Anybody want to speak to that?
Oh, yeah, I'm with you. I totally believe, Mike, that we need to promote this. We need to make it a little faster. We need to help the people. You're gonna bring people to Big Sandy Bay, you need to, you gotta be in. And how our Wolf Island's only got a couple, it's got 4 or 5 nice restaurants downtown, but leading off the path, you know, somebody could boot out from Big Sandy Bay to get some French fries or whatever they cook. I understand he cooks some really fabulous stuff there too, from what I hear. So, I'm all for it. I believe we should correct a few things to make some things easier, and I'm a business person myself, and I don't think I'm gonna add a chip truck, but I can take one, I think. But at the end of that, no, thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I guess it's all new to me. I didn't think of anything. I thought it was as simple as, it's a great site, put the chip truck there, but I guess I'm learning new things all the
Well,
time.
it's not just the big chip truck, though. I mentioned in the email about the whole emphasis of having farm to table food and selling healthy stuff, and that's what they do. So it just seems kind of counter. It's not, you keep calling it a chip truck. But it's not.
Yeah,
And that's not offensive.
yeah, no.
Okay. All right. Anybody online? Your hands up? Oh, wait. Oh.
Stephanie
McCowan?
Yes.
Where's that pen? So I wasn't saying right.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I'm Steph Roy McCallum. I'm located at 365 Carpenters Point Road. I'm grateful to be here tonight and to have listened to the conversation. I first want to applaud the notice of motion put forward by the Deputy Mayor to address some of the discord among council and to improve how you are working together. I want to offer some thoughts about that. You know, my work is in community conflict, and I've been working in that space for almost 30 years. And I would say that I think that, you know, polarization and discord is a little bit like a game of Red Rover. Do you remember that horrible game you used to play in the schoolyard, you know, when people would form lines and they'd hold hands and then they'd call someone over, but really they weren't calling them over to join their side. They were calling them over to see if they could break through. I think that sometimes what happens when we, you know, when discord develops is that we get a little bit stuck and we kind of act like a game of Red Rover where we're focused on who's right and who's wrong, who's good and who's bad, rather than kind of letting go of hands and maybe walking towards each other a little bit in the field. So I think a workshop and some training is a wonderful thing. And I think it probably requires every member of council to let go of their side in Red Rover and move a little bit closer to the middle of the field. I want to talk about, I guess maybe it's a question I have for council about how will you improve beyond how you work together. I would like to offer how will you improve community engagement. And so Alex spoke to it, Mike has spoken to it, Joanne has spoken to it, and I think I want to offer that community engagement needs to be meaningful and equitable and accessible and transparent. And so as an example, you have a public input period, which was fantastic, but it happens after you've made your decisions on the council agenda. So you've heard people talk about items tonight that you have already decided on. So that voice has no influence or input on decisions already made. And I'm grateful that Alex was able to call the CAO and get answers to her questions. But when we think about accessible and transparent information, there's probably 100 other members of the community that had a similar question, and they don't know the answer to that question because only Alex got it. So I think transparent, equitable, accessible communications and community engagement really matters, and I'd love to see council do more of that. You know, the mayor takes the time and energy and effort to put out her newsletter, and it offers a great view on her perspective. But it doesn't offer the township's perspective or what other members of council are doing or what might be coming up on the agenda. So I think my question to council is this initiative to work together better and address some of the discord is important. And how will you improve how you engage the community, how accessible and transparent you are, how well you communicate with the community overall, and just echoing some of the things that other delegations or speakers have said tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Halton.
I find this a vicious circle because we need to talk to the community to figure out how the community wants us to engage them and communicate with them. So how do we do that to start? It's, I know it's a huge issue for every company, every municipality, everything. But I think we're hearing loud and clear that it needs to be a big priority for us. So one of the things I try to do is get out and talk to people, and I prefer that. That's my preferred method. I'm always a little bit afraid of any sort of social media or anything, because your words sometimes, even if you think you chose them well, can get changed around. So I am really hoping Vanessa can lead us on this.
Councillor Saunders.
Mayor, again, thank you for that. There's a reason why we have our phone numbers and our emails on the website. And this is not a funny matter, but, that's just my bad sense of humor. I get phone calls, I get text messages, I don't know, I think the best way to find out what's going on is call a member of council. I really do. I mean, that's why our numbers are there. Yeah, rather than waiting for an official letter to come out from, the mayor, or from council, or whoever, you have a question, call. That'd be my advice.
Councillor Ackley?
Again, I got your email the other day and I read through it. It was excellent and you gave us some knowledge at the end of it to look at some other sites. Very, very knowledgeable. I did go through a lot of it. At the end of the day, it is, Bill has got a great direction. Cause we need the direction, cause tonight I had to listen to something again where I couldn't say anything. Cause somebody spewed out some numbers and some direction that the people on Howe Island have not voted for 20 years about a bridge. We need to focus, we need to get a newsletter out, we need to get a plan together for what our island wants. One person cannot keep saying stuff and giving direction every time about something that people really don't want on this island. That's 20 years ago, we haven't had a survey since. It's time to move on with the fictitious numbers and whatever. At the end of the day, this is a great thing Bill's putting up. We definitely need it, because we need to put a cap on this stuff. And sorry for spewing myself.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, Councillor Jamalski.
Yeah, thanks Stephanie for the email as well, very knowledgeable. Yeah, I mean, we recognize the problem right now, that's why we're trying to get the training in place for us, so hopefully when we get over this hump, we can start putting our collective minds together on one topic and work on it. Communication sounds like the top list right now. Be honest, though, when we heard comments about this should have been done before, we thought maybe we could clear up amongst ourselves, the adults we are. Apparently, I guess we're not quite there yet, so we're gonna try to get it fixed with the council training coming up. That's what we're gonna try to do, so hopefully with that, we go forward, better communication, a group communication as a team goes out. I hope that helps people understand what we're trying to do.
Okay. And I don't think I can add any more to it. I think we should probably be moving along soon. Thank you for your comments and input. It's been longer than 2 minutes each time. And maybe we can look at moving the public question period to an earlier spot in the agenda. The clerk is nodding her head, and that's certainly fine by me. I will try to hold it to the 2 minute piece at that point in time, because at that point, the motions wouldn't have gotten to council, so it's up for them to discuss, but you can give your 2 cents in, if that can work better. Aside from that, I think we should get moving on then to the statement by members. Councilor Saunders, do you have anything?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, there are a couple, 3 things. First of all, I want to give a tip of the hat, as you say, to the Howe Island Fire and Rescue folks. They had a couple of very difficult situations they had to deal with this month, and from everything I've heard, they dealt with them in a very professional and thorough way. So thank you again for that group of volunteers. Another tip of the hat to the Recreation Committee, who are now on a roll with our Saturday night euchre parties, which are well attended and having a lot of fun. And we meet tomorrow night to develop some additional ideas for social activities and events over the course of the rest of the year. I want to applaud staff for developing a thorough communication procedure, policy, or method with MTO. As you know, the Howe Island Ferry is a big issue. We've got several levels of government involved. There's all kinds of different ideas and thoughts and everything else. So staff have been instrumental in getting together, getting a regular meeting going. We had one, and I didn't write down the date, with both the county and MTO and the mayor, myself, and staff. And as you can appreciate, when you're talking about something involved with multiple jurisdictions, they issued some notes, if you will, And I want to read some of the key messages that came out of that so that everybody kind of understands where we are. So first of all, the Ministry of Transportation recognizes the importance of ferries and the vital connection they provide to the communities they serve. The Ministry of Transportation recently met with Frontenac County and the Township of Frontenac Islands to discuss opportunities to make improvements for the ferry service through Howe Island. There is value in working together collaboratively to help understand the needs of the community. MTO is currently in the process of commissioning a Howe Island vessel study and expects it to begin this spring. The study will consider different options such as procuring a new ferry, upgrading the drive system of the existing ferry, undertaking structural modifications to the ferry, or building a fixed link. The study's final recommendations will help inform the decision on investing in a cost-effective, reliable solution that meets the Howe Island residents' needs now and in the future. The county and township and Ministry of Transportation look forward to continuing to work together to improve the quality and efficiency of the ferry service. So this is a document that we all agree with. It was informative in terms of understanding where everybody was, and it's now a document that we continue to move forward. In addition to that, Mayor Greenwood Spears made comment on this as well. In the delegation that Mayor Spears made to MTO, 3 recommendations were put forward. The MTO resurveyed the residents of Howe Island to confirm that a cost-effective solution is still widely supported. And as Councillor Ackley said, that was some time ago, but that was for a bridge. An interim solution, possibly an interim 6-car ferry to replace a smaller ferry, the foot ferry, which would provide some relief for capacity issues. And then additionally, some de-icing equipment available within 12 hours to deal with any icing and incidents that would slow down or reduce the capacity of the ferry. So there's a lot of information going forward, MTO. We look forward to the next meeting, which is being scheduled for
Next week. Yeah.
Is it next week or the?
March the.
Oh, yeah, no,
18th.
yeah, first March.
Yeah,
First week, second week.
or second week of March. So this is a continuing conversation with MTO. I'd like to report that we have some very definite plans on what's gonna happen. We don't. It's still very much in the investigation and developing options and costing out options stage. So that's my statement, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Ackley?
Again, I don't really have any comments because Bill's covered everything other than we should be moving forward on the trailer bylaw. Other than that, I think we can move on.
Okay, Councillor Holton?
I don't have a whole lot. I mean, I guess maybe people would be interested. I'm headed to Quinte West the end of the month to look at a communal sewer system. So I'll be interested to see what that looks like when it's actually working. Source water protection meeting this week. The one item I didn't see that we brought up, we were talking about a meet and greet with Vanessa. Have we did anything concrete on that? We had discussed, no, he had just discussed that maybe, dropping him into the hotel one day or.
Yeah.
Is,
Yes,
Surprise.
just to let people know.
yes, through you, Madam Mayor, I do, Vanessa and I are gonna be spending some time together next week doing a tour of Frontenac Island. And I do have some scheduled stops, for the incoming CAO who will meet, a number of people. So, keep reading your emails and, you may get an invite or whatever, but we are meeting at, Tuesday, the 21st at 1 o'clock at the hotel will be a big one where a lot of business owners and community residents will be there. So to welcome Vanessa. So.
What about Howe Island?
Howe Island, any day you want to come on over and meet. I don't have anything scheduled right yet, but I'm working with Vanessa and her schedule and stuff to schedule something for over here as well. So.
Sorry I brought that up. You weren't ready, but you're such a lovely person. We want everybody to meet you. Yeah, so that's all.
Okay, Councillor Jablonski?
Yep, just a couple updates I want to share. The Wolf Island EMS committee. We've actually made some headway. We've filed a complaint. It's been taken very seriously with the Emergency Health Regulatory and Accountability Branch. They just cannot meet response times this island based set on the Ministry of Health and set on the Ministry of Health. they cannot meet the response times to come to our island and help us out in life-threatening problems. There's an investigation that's been started with that now. We got a very solid contact high up in that organization that's overlooking this complaint process. So hopefully we get some wheels turning there. Other thing too, on the letter side, happy report, Recreation Committee is being fired up, looking for volunteers who want to come play. Gary Greenwood still leading the pack in that one. Dan Hope and myself are involved as well. We've had actually 4 or 5 responses. There'll be a general email sent out. It's in the mail today and tomorrow. So tell your friends. Tell those who want to come and help us plan, normal events, and special events. We want special events, people. Those are my two little updates.
Who are you sending the email to?
Yeah, who gets that? How is
This
it?
is a general mail, sorry, general
Oh,
mail?
like a post, like a hard copy.
Yes, you're gonna send the paper, yeah, but I'm sorry, I didn't include Howe Island in this, maybe I should have.
You know, someplace
I was more confused about, you said email.
No, sorry,
Talked
I'm
about how
sorry.
No email going around. so-
No, it's a general mail out for the folks, so. Anyway, so those who are out there, please, send your names in, we need people. That's it.
Well, it's been a busy month for me and that. And one of the highlights was going off to Roma, and that where I got to meet with the Minister of Transport and present him our separate packages of Wolf Island concerns and Howe Island concerns. And speak with several other ministers. I even got to speak with the Premier, and we had a nice little 5-minute conversation. And he was very receptive. I also got to present to the Budget Consultation Committee down in Maitland. And made the point there regarding Howe Island as well as Wolf Island concerns on how you can save money one way and you can invest money in another way. And it was very well received. And matter of fact, after that presentation, I was told twice by the person receiving it as well as the MVP that was there and that, how well received it was. So we've softened the ground, I would say. Progress with MTO is always slow. And at that meeting, it was January 31st, and they were talking about spring would be the next meeting, and that's where, you know, delay and slowness is one of those pedantic things that the reality is we have the summer coming up and we have a 10-car ferry and a 2.5-car ferry over here. We have electric ferry tied up and another ferry that is still functioning. So there's lots of MTO type of challenges. It's never going to be solved just at the operational level. It's going to have to be decisions made at the higher level for funding. And that's exactly why I went to consultation, not for budget, and soften the ground. And when I spoke with the minister, I said, it's up to you to put it in the budget to fund the second ferry for Wolf Island. It's up to you to put it in the budget to fund a new ferry for Howe Island. That was a request made by this council. Now, if they don't put it in the budget this year, it's not happening. So that's why I was pushing to get it into the budget. And that's why a community that supports issues and that I'm a big fan of them writing, and that write their MPP, write the premier, write the minister, copy us if you can. So we can say that we know that you are getting that concern, but a handwritten letter as in typed out and signed is the highest value, and emails up there and a petition can be entered in. So there's lots of things that the community can do to get engaged and support the council that's working at the government level, trying to get things done. When they do respond to pressures from multiple people rather than just Frontenac Islands or the mayor or the CAOs or the councillors. So help is needed. On the Wolf Island side, the water quality in Marysville has been affected. We had hoped that it was only during the construction of that dock, but overhead drones have shown us that it seems to be around the new boat. Department of Fisheries and Oceans has been contacted by MTO. They're gonna have to do another study. They had a preliminary study before that dock was built. And they're gonna have to follow up, and we may end up having to look at long-term mitigation. We have two counselors on the communal water system that was initially created at the county level as an arm's length group to work with developers at communal water systems. However, if we have people with pipes that are constantly clogged, filter systems that are constantly being ruined, and if it's gonna be tracked back to the new boat, kicking up too much sediment in that bay, it may be the existing village that has to look at that. And that's reality, and that because we can't have homes that don't have water. And at this point in time, there's a whole lot of people who've been affected to the tens of thousands of dollars individually. So that's one of the notices that I've been putting up on the Wolf Island side to make sure that people could contact the MTO and the property person so that they could become hopefully reimbursed, but in the long term, we may be needing that communal services quicker than we ever thought. And aside from that, we've had our previous CAO, we're still here until March the 9th.
Yep.
New CAO starting March the 10th. Wish you all the best and that for your new venture and that, and wish you the best, and we'll work diligently on the multiple concerns that are embraced in this community. And I will say it's not the first time that Frontenac Islands has had challenges within councils. When I was doing some of the research back for the delegation stuff, I was looking at interesting letters from councillors and mayors and deputy mayors and motions that were passed against each other, and it was quite divisive all the way along for multiple times, and that's just the reality of it. When you have strong personalities, you can have a lot of good when they all work together, and a lot of craziness of the rowing of the boat, and that when we don't. But it's not the first time the Frontenac Islands, because there is multiple islands and there is different concerns. But for myself, I'm the mayor of all the islands. So the concerns of Howe Island, Horseshoe, Garden, Simcoe, Goose, Hickory, it doesn't matter. And that, bring them to me. I will do my very best. Okay, I think that's the end of my statement. And now we have notice of motion. And I actually have two. So I'm going to hand it over to the deputy while I do the notes. No, I can just mention it.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
this section here, Madam Mayor. Give a bit of a brief background with respect to him, and I believe Deputy Mayor Saunders has it in this as well.
I have one more too. Okay, we have a medical clinic on Wolf Island that has lost the support of Frontenac doctors that used to come on a weekly basis. In no small part related to ferry delays and interruptions when there's an ambulance call, et cetera, and it just became too problematic for them. So the group from the medical clinic were discussing, and they'd like us to support them in asking the ministry to declare that we are rural, remote, and isolated. And with that, the idea behind it is that they may be able to apply for funding to get funding for a nurse practitioner. If we could get funding for a nurse practitioner, the Frontenac doctors who would normally have to pay for that out of their pocket would no longer have to pay for it out of their pocket, and the nurse practitioner could report back to them, and there seems to be an opportunity to get a physician back to the island. The bad news is if we don't, we have a lot of seniors over there and it clogs up the boat. It certainly isn't handy. It's not a replacement for emergency services by any stretch of the imagination, but it can get a lot of medications adjusted and a lot of it can be done on the island. So my notice of motion is in regards to the medical clinic support for rural, remote, and isolated, whereas the Township of Frontenac Islands recognized tremendous asset the medical clinic is to the residents of Wolf Island, and whereas the township supports the efforts of the dedicated volunteers that contribute their time and hard work to provide the residents and visitors with access to medical laboratory and other services, and whereas the Frontenac doctors have ceased providing these services to the residents on the island, now therefore be resolved that the Township of Frontenac Island supports the medical clinic's board efforts to have Wolf Island designated a rural, remote, and isolated area, given our water-only access with limited ferry capacity, explicitly to seek funding to secure the services of a nurse practitioner or a physician as needed in order to provide services to Wolf Island residents and visitors. So that's gonna be at the next meeting, and I'm looking for a seconder for that at that time. Another notice of motion I have is regarding asking that we have a reinstatement of proper revenue reporting for the township from the TransAlta Group. And that when the contract was signed with, for the wind turbines over there, there was a clause in it that TransAlta made reports on a quarterly basis of excess profits. And there was a formula that there would be money provided back to the township. And somewhere along the line, the reports seem to have stopped coming in. So I'm gonna put a motion forward that we contact them and say we'd like to have the back reports as well as all the upcoming reports. Maybe they're not making any great profits, but if they are, there's something in here that we may be able to get some, and that would be nice. I'm always trying to chase some money if I can, especially if it's not out of your pocket. Okay, and now there's another notice of motion, did I hear?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So I have a notice of motion that I'll be presenting at the next council meeting and looking for a seconder. Whereas the township is investing heavily, I'll give you the background first of all. During the discussions regarding the severance of 3 lots at the end of Baseline Road, the question was raised about the quality of the road and any damage that would be done. That was part of the conversation. In addition to that, there's been some new houses built on the east end of the island where the road has now been repaired, and there's concerns about that construction work would deteriorate the road. So with that background, my notice of motion is whereas the township is investing heavily in repairing and upgrading roads, and whereas applications for severances and building permits will continue to be brought forward for approval, and whereas such activities will require the use of heavy equipment and increased construction traffic, and whereas such activities may cause damage to the roads, therefore staff are directed to develop a bylaw requiring these applicants to repair any such damage and return the road to its original condition. And I'll be looking for a seconder at the next council meeting.
Great. Yeah, I think that's it then. Any announcements? None seen, none listened? Then I'm gonna have someone move for the closed session. Under the Municipal Act, 2001, section 239B and D, regarding personnel matters about the identifiable individual, including municipal or local employees and labor relations or employee negotiations, specifically interviews and employee negotiations. And Municipal Act 239E and F regarding litigation and potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals, affecting municipality or local boards, and advises this subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for all purposes, specifically the solicitor communications. That the regular council meeting adjourned for the closed session at 6:10, and can I have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Ackley, Councillor Saunders. All those in favor for adjournment? Carried, and thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I was just saying, Madam Mayor, we
A
want
10-minute break?
Yeah.
Okay, how about we have a 10-minute break for anybody that needs call of nature, whatever,
Yeah.
take a walk.
Right?
Small, it's the lungs.
He's a smoke.
It's not the high risk.
You're there.
Pretty steep. Yeah.
Over that. We'll make this quick.
I was sorry.
That's all right.
Good.
Okay. We want to get to talking to these guys first because there isn't anything in there. We're going straight to bylaws.
No, they're just,
We'll just go to this one. Okay, we'll jump to this one.
I propose that we do all three in one unless there's any one that member else would like to pull out to address.
Okay, I'll read the three bylaws and I'll be looking for a mover and a seconder. Bylaw 00324 temporary boring bylaw. The three readings and final passage be granted to bylaw 003-24 being a bylaw to provide temporary boring by the municipality when required. In bylaw 006-24 delegated approval for planning approvals, the three readings and final passage be granted to bylaw 006-24 2024 being a bylaw to delegate various planning approvals to staff and to adopt certain procedures for the processing of planning applications subject to delegating authority and to repeal bylaw number 13-2022. And then bylaw 007-2024 confirmation bylaw February 12th, 2024, that three readings and final passage be granted to bylaw 003-2024 006-2024 and 007-2024 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council. And I have a mover for these three, Councillor Ackley and Councillor Jablonski. Any discussion? Okay, I have one quick question, and that is regarding the bylaw 006-24 for the delegation approval of planning approvals. And that is, how much are you anticipating that we're going to be billed more by planning for taking on this role? Because there has to be a difference.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
So we will be coming to council next month, I believe, myself and our director to talk to you about our planning services agreement and the cost from 2023. We anticipate that, now this maybe isn't so great for the islands because last year you had 16 applications. Some of the other townships have considerably more than that. But the delegated authority for the undisputed consents, we're hoping to cut the time that we spend on those files by, I'm saying approximately 40 to 50%. Because we won't be writing the same lengthy report. We won't be doing presentation slides. We won't be sitting around waiting for a meeting. The applicant won't be sitting around waiting for a meeting. So there will be some where there are some complaints from neighbors that can't be resolved that we then have to turn around and advertise for a meeting. And we'll take those people a little bit longer, but the whole intent was that to simplify the process for everybody.
We should see a reduction in our billing per applicant. If
So
this goes through.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, I would leave, like I said, we're gonna have a discussion next month about how the planning services agree. So we don't bill like a consultant. So we track our time.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to bring next month also the planning fees bylaw update as well, because you're not charging enough for your applications. The application fee would not change.
Mhm.
And we have taken, in our research, we've taken into consideration the idea of doing an undisputed consent. So what we do is we bill at the end of the year for our time overall, but it's not just for that year, it's out, and you'll learn a bit more about this next month, but it's averaged over 3 years. So for instance, that helps when there are times where we spend a bit more time on, say, a project that's not development related, maybe that's the Marysville secondary plan. If you had to pay all of that in 1 year, it would be a huge spike, right? So if you take it out and average it over 3 years, it sort of lessens the amount that's paid. So we're gonna spend less time hopefully on some of these development applications, and that will eventually come out in the wash in terms of the 3-year average.
Okay, and that's where it sort of caught my attention that the Queen students that we had for free, and that also tied us into hundred and 63 hours of planning time for supervising the students.
That's correct. So when we brought that idea forward, we did mention that there was no cost to hiring the students. There would just be the cost of staff time in terms of supervising the students.
Yeah,
So-
it just seemed like a high number. What's your billing hours in that on average figure?
I'll be honest, Madam Mayor, I do not know. But I will relay that to our director and ask him to get that information from finance for his presentation next month.
Okay, because I thought if it costs that much just for the students and that when we finally get around to ever building a house in Marysville, it's gonna be phenomenal, the amount that we're paying.
I cannot say.
Yeah, so I think those questions are best directed to the director, right? That's-
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about the planning services agreement next month, just to let you know what it is and have it really.
We built houses.
Okay, so we'll find it. Okay, thank you very much. Wanted to get that clarified. So we've got our mover and seconder and that the three readings and final passage be granted bylaw 003-24, 006-24, 007, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council. Any further questions? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now, mover and seconder for ending the regular council meeting. Councillor Ackley.
I don't wanna go yet.
Well, you get to vote against it. The regular council meeting be adjourned at 19:05. All those in favor?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Do you know?
Yeah. Yeah.